Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use copy data tool in Azure Data Factory. So first thing, make sure to log in your Azure account, and second thing is going to all services, or you can check the search bar. Alternatively, you can also search through create a resource. So click on database and then data factory. Here you can see I already have one instance of data factory, but if you are starting from scratch, you can click on create. Right, so first thing to do would be adding your resource group and subscription, then give it a name, right, and choose the default instance, right, then choose git option to configure later, then networking option. Here you can pick what to enable disable. You can connect via public endpoint or private endpoint. Alternatively, you can manage virtual network. Right, now there is also advanced tab option. You can see within data factory you have to enable or disable customer managed encryption keys. Right, like your next option is to choose the tags. Right, so here you can add the tags to organize your data factory. Next is clicking on review and create. Before that, you can review all the options like your encryption, the networking, right, also git and so on, and at the end you can review so that you will be able to create that instance. There is also one click option for anyone who wants to try the template with sample pipeline and data set. Right, if you click on that, it will set everything for you and you will just directly go to the example. However, I already created one data factory, so I'm not going to repeat the steps. Right, so finally, once created, I will show you that this is the dashboard for my data factory. Now we have to launch the data factory studio. Click on this in new tab, it will launch the data factory studio. Now here you can see the copy data tool where you can see the ingest option. So if you want to add some data into your data factory and then work on the data source, you can use this task of built-in copy task. Then make sure to run it once, click next. Here you have your source data source where you can pick the data source as blob storage or variety of other data source. Right, so let's say within Azure you have blob storage, Cosmos DB, data lake, then Azure SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and table storage option. Right, so at this point I will have to create one storage account, and also I will have to show you the upload of one of the data file. So what I can do is I will click on storage account. Now here I will create a storage account with some sample name. Right, so what I will do, I will choose subscription, resource group, then instance detail as my dev store. If it's not available, we can continue to check out what's available. Just add random letter sometimes and that works. Then pick the region, then pick the performance redundant option. I will choose locally redundant option, then click advance and choose the minimum TLS and permitted scope. Next is network connectivity. We will choose public access point and we'll let Microsoft network routing to do the work. Then comes data protection, where you can keep the default and adjust the retention period for the data accordingly. Then comes encryption, where you can keep the things to Microsoft managed keys, allow all the service types. Then comes tags. where we can organize by adding the tags. So I will just move to review. Here it will run the validation test. Then once validated, it will allow me to create this particular account. So I will click on create. So it will cause a deployment stage, right? It will take a minute or two, or even less time than that, depending on how the deployment is chosen at the location, right? So our job here is first have to get storage account done, then we will upload one blob. Meanwhile, in studio we will close the existing option, return back to our data factory, right? Now that we have our deployed instance here, so let's take a look at what's available for us, right? So here you see we have our storage account. I will just go to storage browser, and within browser I will upload one of the CSV file in blob option, right? So we will create a container for that first, and within container we need to set things up. Now once you reach the container, click plus icon, type in, let's say, my data factory demo as your container name. It's there available, so I will just move to public access level. We can pick private, no anonymous access, or blob, or container. Just choose the container, makes things easy, right? Alternatively, you can pick also blob options, so anonymous read access for blobs only. That is also one good option. So let's create. Once created, it will show up here, so we will click on it. It will expand, then we will try to upload the file, right? And we will browse it and go to the place where we have our files, CSV, and then we choose home price, open it and upload it. It should appear in here, right? So we have our container where we have our home price, right? So we are good to go now. So let's close this, right? Now let's take a look at next thing, which is our data factory studio, right? Where we are supposed to check for the copy ingest tool, which will allow us to pick this particular CSV file, right? So let's go to the studio, let it load. Here we can pick the ingest, then it will take us to built-in copy task. We can run this once, click next. Now it needs a source, so I will have to give it blob storage. You can also check from all the available storage options. So choose the blob storage, then select the connection, right? You can also create new connection, choose its name, whatever comes, then you pick the Azure subscription, then storage name, right? Then it will choose your all other details, right? We can add our connection properties, then link services. We can click on create. Now once we create our connection, we will be able to look at what we can get from that file and folder. So we can browse to that folder, particularly for this blob storage, where you can see my container, and I recently created this particular CSV file that we uploaded. We just want to point to that, right? We will keep the binary copy option. We can keep compression to none, use recursively as option, then we will click next. Now comes the part where we have to think of destination, right? So here I will just connect to our existing storage, and then here we can give it a folder path, which is our option. So here, let's say I need to think of folder, right? So I will go here, and then we have to think of the option to create the folder, right? So let's try and find it out. So here, let's see, it only allows me to create the file, right? So we have to choose the folder and other options. Let's see what we can do, right? So let's come back here and choose the root folder, and we will just put it as okay. So the both the part for source and destination we are keeping the same, right? We are not changing any other behavior. Copy behavior we are setting to none, right? So two important things being our folder and connection, right? Click next. Now here you see the task name, which is copy pipeline. Let it be as is, don't change anything. Click next. So as you can see, the pipeline is created, and it will tell you source, destination, timeout, etc. It will show you the validating time and progress for what succeeded and what's in progress. Now deployment is complete, right? We can now monitor the result, and we are finished. You can click on monitor and you can see the rest. You can also edit the pipeline. Click finish, and you are pretty much done, right? Here you can click on monitor, and you can see things that we just did, right? We can refresh just in case it is not showing. Click on that, explore further, and here you see things that we managed to do here. So we are succeeded in the goal of using the copy data tool within Azure Data Factory Studio.